but the degree to which they've tried to solve this problem is so much smaller, right? Despite the problem being so much bigger.
I don't know if they have tried to solve it. I mean,
they have in various ways. It's the stuff where it's like, the App Store is like, hey, now we have Apple Arcade. Hey, now we have the Games app.
Right, but again, it's that same thing of going, well, we're not going to improve the store. We're just going to do something else.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. They've tried to solve it, but they're not solving it.
We're going to solve the discovery problem by just leaving it a problem over here and then solving it over there.
Butterscotch shenanigans.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 562 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm a miscellaneous programmer.
I'm Sam and I'm ill.
And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is February 27th, 2020. Quick! Today we're going to talk about Xbox. A little bit. Well, we're going to have kind of a loose discussion about the change in leadership at Xbox and kind of what's been going on over there as far as
you know what that might mean.
As far as we understand it and some of our own experiences.
Yeah, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for indies?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we are also in Next Fest with How Many Dudes, Steam Next Fest. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how that's been going so far, what numbers we've been seeing, and how that's been going. Mm-hmm. So, let's talk about the Xbox stuff. So... last week, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, there was an announcement from Xbox that Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, who had been there for like a decade or something, would be stepping down. And so what was the name of the second?
Sarah Bond, yeah.
Sarah Bond also stepping down, presumably because Sarah was...
It was a fast announcement too, because it was last week, right? They announced that he's retiring, and on Monday, the following 3 days, two business days after the announcement, which is, I don't know if does that happen a lot in corporate shit. I always thought you give lead time for to be when we have a plan.
Right. Here's the
plan. Right.
My understanding is that Sarah Bond was supposed to be the next, the kind of protege person. So
she was
both of them
being groomed to take over,
Yeah. So the fact that both of them are out creates kind of a vacuum over there, right? Where it's the sudden, the plan that clearly has been in motion because she'd been there a long time too. It's been in motion for a while.
It creates speculation that he was asked to leave because they wanted to appoint somebody completely different, which would also explain why Sarah Bond left instead of being promoted for the position that she had been training for a long ass time.
Yeah, and there's a classic. I saw there was an article, I think Aftermath, maybe, I don't know, somebody did, but or they did a really good kind of breakdown of also how this pattern is really common in the CEO world, right? Where something doesn't go well for a while for some company, right?
So for reference, Microsoft's gaming division revenue is down by 9% year over year. So,
and they had this big Xbox Anywhere thing that was everybody just made fun of and didn't work and right. So as a unit they've been struggling for a while, and they've always been trying to play catch up to PlayStation and stuff, and that's been getting harder and harder. They're getting the gap is just growing, not shrinking, right? So but the model you're seeing then is if you're a corporate money person, you're looking at Xbox and being sure, it's making money, sure, but we have in our minds, it could be making so much more money than it isn't. Right. So this is a failure of an entity.
We're not squeezing enough.
Yeah. Leadership has failed. We need to shake things up. Right. Okay. So
we're not growing enough or whatever.
Yeah. So that pattern is you recognize that and then you get rid of the CEO. Right. But then you find a different scapegoat. Right. And so what the model, it looks like they're kind of repeating that model, the classic corporate model here, where it looks like Sarah Bond is being used as the scapegoat. Because if you read the initial news that came out, everyone was kind of confused about Spencer leaving, right? And then being and then double confused about Sarah Bond leaving. But then they would start saying things about how this Xbox Anywhere thing was really Sarah Bond's thing, so it's starting to look like that's what it is, right? And so
it might have been, I don't know, but
so she might be being cast out basically because they need somebody to blame and they never want it to be a CEO. Right?
Basically being able to say this isn't the organization's problem.
Yes,
this is this one person.
How about Sarah did it? It was Sarah.
Sarah did it. So now
we didn't want to do it, but Sarah was we better do it. We had to.
And so now we're moving on.
It's a little unclear if how voluntary this was, how much corporate shenanigans is going on versus how much like, because it also could be the case that both of them, because they've been working together, right? And like trying to achieve the same mission, right? How much they were like, we don't think the stuff that Xbox wants us to do and is trying to force us to do makes any sense. And so fuck this, we're out. Right. And that's another, like there's nobody knows.
It's all speculation.
Yeah,
it's all speculation.
What's going on.
So I want to talk about then the person who's taking over, because there's this kind of hilarious sequence of events that just is so, I guess I would say hypocritical from a Microsoft standpoint, but it's just kind of ironic and hilarious. So the new person coming in is Asha Sharma, who is actually, I think she's 37, so pretty young. And
but good on her for hitting that kind of a CEO of Xbox.
At my age, I wouldn't be comfortable running anything of that scale, which I'm about her age. But so she worked at Microsoft fresh out of college, so like 15 whatever years ago in the early 2010s, and their marketing department moved into like some like tech startup for smart home kind of stuff. Ended up at like Home Depot doing some stuff, worked at Meta as VP of product and engineering, went over to Instacart as their COO.
Is this like the classic every 2 years I change?
Just every couple of years, just popping into a new role.
It's very C-suite.
So she came back to Microsoft just a couple of years ago for their AI division.
Literally 2.5 years ago or something.
Yeah, to run their core AI product line. So she was like, according to LinkedIn, she led the product portfolio for AI models, apps, and agents, responsible AI, and developer tools for customers worldwide. So she was on some level one of the people kind of higher up in like pushing lots of AI stuff and development and all that. So we had that note from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella earlier this year, where he was like, I'm really upset that people keep calling it slop, like, can we stop calling it slop? And instead, like, he said some bullshit about like cognitive tools for expanding humanity, whatever.
Right.
So then Microsoft, they get their head of Xbox out. They get their second person of Xbox out. They promote Asha Sharma to be in charge. And of course, everybody's immediate reaction is, oh no, they're going to try to jam Xbox full of Copilot bullshit, right?
Which is also makes the most sense from a Microsoft organization. Like Microsoft is an entity. It's betting the whole farm.
They just keep jamming AI into shit. Nobody wants it, and they just keep doing it.
And they keep doing it no matter what. No, it doesn't have to make any sense. They're forcing it top down. And so this also looks consistent with that, with like the current heads of Xbox being like,
it's AI time, buddies.
And then they replace them with somebody who's going to be like, yep, now I can fill this full of AI shit.
Yeah. Right? So this is where so that's all consistent, right? Of like what you would expect.
You mean like broadly what's been happening at Microsoft.
Yeah. Now the hypocrisy part comes in, where first thing Asha Sharma does is she puts out a big like big internal memo, which then also gets released publicly, where she's talking about the new direction that Xbox is going to go. It's all corporate speak with no tangible actual.
Yeah,
it's not like here's what we're gonna do. It's here's how we're gonna refocus. Here's what we're gonna be, leaning.
It was very much.
It's all just
going back to our roots, sort of a vibe.
We're gonna go back to our roots, and we're gonna respect gamers, and we're gonna do all this stuff. But it's not like nothing actual. Like, what are you actually gonna do though, right? So we have no idea what they're gonna do. But one of the things she said that they wouldn't do is they would not allow Xbox's store to be flooded with AI slop. And she literally used the phrase term. AI slop.
I mean, I wouldn't call that hypocrisy, right? Because it depends on, because an organization isn't a thing, right? It's a bunch of people doing stuff.
But you've got the person at the very top of the organization saying, we need to stop using the term AI slop.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just don't because like,
that's what I was saying. I wouldn't call it hypocrisy. It's just ironic, right? It's just kind of
ironic, but I think importantly she correctly read the room for that part, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And
which is everyone's going to see me coming in here being like, random AI person.
Look what this looks like with what Microsoft is, and like
this
how
looks
how
bad.
fast this happened, and how much of an information vacuum was kind of left behind. Like we can all see what it looks like, right?
100%.
And so I think she correctly read the room, and I think actually, if I was her, I would have also said
She needed
slop.
to say it. She needed.
But I would have said,
You
I wouldn't have said like, I wouldn't have used the terms that Microsoft wanted, because to successfully pull off the claim that how everybody feels, and you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You got to meet them where
You
they
got to
are.
use the language
Right.
of the people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so to me, this all feels very strategic, and something that has always been true is that the C-suite will just say whatever. Right.
They'll say whatever they need to say for the
They'll
next
say
quarter.
whatever they need to say to keep the stock price from falling. Right.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
We don't know what is actually going to happen. That's the big note, right?
The only thing we'll be able to see is once actions start happening. And this is never trust what a CEO says. Never listen to what they say. It doesn't matter, right? You have to look at what the business does and figure that out. And right now, it's too early to know what the business is going to do. And presumably it's going to take a little while, because Xbox is a big ship.
Mm-hmm.
So to try to steer it and do something to it is probably going to take some time. And so we don't know what's going to. We can't, like, nobody can guess. You're going to hear lots of hot takes about like.
Well, especially there's always that group of people who are like, oh, if this person isn't a true gamer or whatever else, then like, what kind of havoc are they going to wreak? I think in general, it's far easier to just wait a few weeks and see what are the first things
But
they
also,
start doing.
being a gamer has nothing to do with being on the development side. Yeah. It's like being a gamer means you appreciate the output, right? And you can like you maybe have like a broad sense of like what is out there, what kinds of things people are creating.
People want to know that a person has taste.
Yes.
For the thing. If they're
and a sense of like what it is they're trying to do, right? So I agree with the general sentiment that
how can you not play games and run a game store is basically which is okay, fair, but the problem is there's a degrees problem there, which is like how much games you have to play, and there's always there's a large contingent of people who, no matter what you say, like I play a lot of games, right? I make them. I don't play like 3D first person shooters though. I'm not a sweaty gamer, in like a multiplayer sense.
And I don't play that many games at all, actually, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I'm not a true gamer. Some people.
So, but I think there's a difference between like, are we arguing about like degree and doing a purity test? Because people are going to do that.
Yeah,
That's
no matter
bullshit and bad. I agree.
Yeah.
And people being like, I literally have never played games. I don't get it. I don't understand why people do.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And a lot of people, especially C-suite people, just across any industry, right, are the kind who are like, video games are a waste of time, right? So,
So which is why it's more comfortable to have someone who's completely outside of any gaming division ever.
And we also know, as people who make video games, talking to business people all the time, running big companies who want to make money from our games, that the disconnect between how they think about games and players and people's behavior and what games are for and what it means to charge for, like all this, the gap between where we're at as people who are making games and play games and where they're at for people who want to make as much money as possible selling things that happen to be games, right? Yes. The gap is so often so huge. And the only time that this stuff has gone really well for us and for these companies is when the people that we talk to and get to make decisions are people who like video games.
Yes.
And people who are okay with like asking us what we want to do.
Yes.
Right. And not kind of enforcing a top-down thing, which kind of comes to the next interesting point about the Xbox saga, right? Is like I mentioned, their revenue is down, and we had talked last year about this kind of bizarre like Xbox Play Anywhere, everything is an Xbox vibe, right? Because historically you'd think like, okay, Xbox is a console, it's a piece of hardware. And they'll make exclusive games for it, and you can only play those on the Xbox, and then that drives the hardware sales, and then that creates a secondary market for people like us to come in and also sell our games on Xbox because lots of people own an Xbox. And then for the past year and a half maybe, Microsoft has been like, don't fucking bother. Don't bother buying an Xbox. Everything's an Xbox. Your phone's an Xbox. Your computer's an Xbox. I don't know if we want to make Xboxes anymore. I don't know. Just do stuff.
They wanted to move into a sort of a license, like basically software sales to sell like the Xbox store and then games within Xbox, right? And licensing so that they could because like with like the Xbox ROG Ally or whatever the fuck that thing was called, right? They want to be able to license Xbox to other hardware a diversified portfolio of hardware manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been doing all that stuff.
Which I would say, none of that's like a bad idea.
No,
like
I mean, honestly, if you're
right,
the reality is like making hardware is deeply challenging.
If you can get out of it, I mean,
and especially right now, like
I mean, a big reason why we were like, like we want to try to make games as a studio. It's because like the entry cost for software is a laptop.
Yeah.
If you're actually manufacturing and distributing hardware, then you got just an astronomical amount of problems to solve. So the interesting thing about this is like I think Microsoft is doing this in this. Their approach to Xbox has been the same as their approach to Copilot and so many other things lately, which is they've just decided what customers are going to want, and then they're trying to enforce their will on the market kind of top down, right? So,
or even they've decided what they want customers to want. Right?
Yeah,
because like I'm not sure that they actually think they want it. I think they're like, we need you to have this be your reality because of how we want our business to operate.
Yeah. So with this kind of like everything is an Xbox thing, this idea that like that if I'm playing a game on my couch on my Xbox console, that later in the day I'm going to want to like go to a different room in the house and sit down at my PC and then keep playing that same game at my PC, right? Which might be true, but also like I'm still in my house, so I could just.
Well, I think it's the same truth you've seen from the Switch. That the Switch showed, that also like the Steam Deck showed. It is true. It's like being able to pick up a game that is in your game library and just keep on playing it, but elsewhere on some other form factor. It's definitely a thing.
It's cool. But also, like, not every developer wants to go through that because in the case of Xbox, it means like actually making multiple different builds, right? So for Steam, it's like you just make your Steam build and then just make sure it's compatible with the Steam Deck, but you don't need to maintain multiple different executables at the same time, right? But if you want to get your game onto the Xbox console, then also get it onto like PC, Google Play Pass, Xbox Game Pass, right? Then now you've got a bunch of extra work to do.
And of course, are they not a unified build now?
It's unified now.
Oh, they're unifying it now?
Yeah. Okay. So back when we did Levelhead and we're in Game Pass with Levelhead.
Yeah. We had
it was just at the end of life for the way that they were doing it before, which is you basically had two different software development kits for these two different environments. And at that time, because everyone's always pushing something. At that time, they were going all in on the Microsoft store, right?
Yes, and we had to make a UWP build.
And so now we had to make like 3 different builds to manage like whatever. But I think at that time though is when they were just releasing their new software development kit that was this cross-platform thing.
Yeah, it works across.
Yeah, we were just like
we got the tail of it. But yeah, so the point being there was kind of like for us to kind of like get into that ecosystem, like we got to play ball. Right, like we got to do all this stuff.
As an indie, you gotta. If they say like, oh, if you want a Game Pass deal or whatever else, you'll need to support, like PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass. In the past, that meant at least 2 different builds. Right now, it's a unified build, but very importantly, that doesn't mean that like there's no cost to us, right, to the devs, to produce a game that works well in both contexts because of form factor. Right, it's like on Xbox you have a controller, on PC you have keyboard mouse. So what that means is you need your game to be able to work with both of those.
Right.
And
so we couldn't say, no, we just only want it to be on the PC version of Game Pass, right?
I think you
can ask for it, but they will probably say no, right?
Well, you'll definitely just get less money.
Because they're trying to push that like play anywhere kind of thing. So they're going to prioritize titles that respect that.
Which makes sense, right? Because they've got their business goals and they're going to pay the money accordingly, right? Like all that makes sense. That's what they're going to do.
But the problem kind of from our end is like their business goal is cannibalization, right? Because it's like they're thinking of PC as like a new market, but it's only a new market for them. Like we're already on Steam, so we can already sell games on PC. We have our PC players. If we like do, let's say we put how many dudes into game. Let's say we put it into Xbox Game Pass, and it's on Xbox and it's on PC, which currently we don't have any plans for that, but just hypothetically, right? Then what's the risk of our Steam sales going down? Because if anybody's subscribed to Game Pass, they can just get it there, and then they don't have to buy the Steam version. And then because everything's algorithmic, like we've talked about in the past, like if you chunk out 5% of your Steam player base because they're just playing it on Game Pass instead. There may be some kind of thresholds.
Flywheel effect problem.
Yeah, thresholds where your game loses some amount of velocity of sales or wishlist or whatever, and then it drops down on certain lists and stuff, and like every little bit kind of
this is a challenge, right?
Creates a negative feedback loop.
Because it may very well be, like in our best interest or good for us to do something like a upfront licensing fee, like a Game Pass thing would be, so we can have some money. It like lets you cover some bases, but there's not.
And the amount of that licensing could potentially, depending on how much it is and how well you would have done otherwise on Steam alone, it could dramatically outweigh the cannibalization that also happens, right?
Exactly.
There's no way to know.
There's no way to know. There's no measurement, and it's all just anecdotal. It's like I have PC Game Pass. There are games that I want to play that I find out that they're on PC Game Pass that I would have bought. I know this happens. It's true for me. I would have.
True
bought
for me
them.
too. Yeah, there are games that I would have bought on Steam that I played back when I don't have Game Pass anymore. But back when I did, that I just played instead.
And so it's one of those things where you're not clear the degree to which this is true, but because of these potential exponential follow-on effects of like, yeah, if it is just like 5% of your player base or 5% of like concurrent players or else, if you. Man, it's like that. But it's could also matter. I don't know.
It could, but it's also the case that this matters more over time if Xbox is successful in its goals. Because if its goal is to become an actual like meaningful competitor for PC sales, right? Because the reason that I can imagine it's not that on balance you probably come out ahead currently is that people who play Xbox games historically were people who have an Xbox. They had to be, right? And it's only fairly recently, like past few years, because like when did Xbox for PC actually start? Like that's relatively recent.
Years ago. Yeah,
it's like 5 years ago, something.
I remember the first thing I played on it was Back for Blood, which
I think it's 2020, 2021.
Yeah, so that's very recent, right? Which means that and PC gamers are on Steam, right? They don't. Many PC gamers also have an Xbox, but historically those are just separate things.
Well, and you do have the effect of like if there's just a shitload of people playing your game, which is true. If you get into Game Pass, there's gonna be a lot of people playing it. Yeah. That there are very positive follow-on externalities for that too.
Yeah,
right. So the problem is like, it's like you just have there's more people talking about it. Streamers who stream the game have more people who are interested in watching it. So this is why it becomes like it's a trickier thing to answer. But I think importantly, the reason it's trickier to answer almost has nothing to do with the Game Pass or like the subscription aspect of it, like the one-time licensing fee. The reason it's trickier to answer is because the like day-to-day sales on the Xbox store, like just direct sales of any given like indie game, has not like meaningfully improved. Certainly, I think it's safe to say in the last couple of years. As in, on Steam, we're able to sell more games now with any given game than we used to in the past because of all of the tools and stuff that they built.
Yeah, on every other platform, including Xbox, we can sell less. We can do less direct sales,
right,
year over year,
which means you're more reliant on that licensing fee for something like Game Pass. And so, as that creeps into these other markets where you can actually kind of grow your own pool and like you could find those data, like basically the daily sell rate is something you can kind of work on. Then it gets a little like the math gets a little bit weird, right? Because it's like, okay, do I take X amount of money up front to do some PC Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, whatever, knowing that I probably won't make much more than that at all for the rest of this platform's history.
You get what you get.
You get what you get, and then knowing that has some positive and negative externalities on the storefront where I
all unknown and also unknowable in retrospect because you can never tease that apart, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to this.
It's more of a question mark. If you were able to just like do sales and stuff on Xbox and still make money, then it would make perfect.
Yeah.
Good sense,
right? So to me, like the cloud, remember the cloud gaming thing of 2018, 2019, where suddenly everybody's like, you're gonna not buy games anymore. You're just gonna rent a computer from us temporarily. Whatever. Like again, nobody wanted this, and it fortunately kind of petered out, right? But like with the Play Anywhere, and then we have like Google Play is like they're really trying to push for playing Android games on PC. So like all these different companies are hitting a point where they're like, wow, we're really struggling to sell games.
or even
through
grow
our normal
within our current.
Yeah, like we're struggling to grow. We're struggling to get more out of our current store. Instead of doing some soul searching and figuring out what the fuck is going on and why aren't people buying games on our store, or why are our sales going
the
down?
store experience,
Yeah, instead of doing any of that, let's just do something else. Let's just try to start up a different store on a different platform and like rope in a new audience. And I think we were kind of musing earlier about how, like, for example, for Google, it's like they've got Android games working on PC before they have wish lists.
Yeah.
Or they're like they have, I should say, they do have a wish list button, but it doesn't really do anything. Like, it doesn't really work like how, say, like on Steam, you wish list something, now you get
think about
notifications about the game, and when the game releases, you get the announcement. When the game goes on sale, you get notified.
Xbox just added wish lists I think like last year or like a year and a half ago, and it's a thing you have to like manually on the back end. You have to like harass a person to get into the program that lets you have wish lists. Right?
Even all the other stuff that Steam has too that interacts with this stuff, right? Because like Steam, you can follow a developer, you can follow a publisher, you can follow a game.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of those entities can post announcements. When they can post
Steam is basically saying, we're giving you tools as a developer and as a player to create relationships
with your customer base
in that channel, right?
And to stay up to date with news about the stuff that you are interested in. Either
get hyped about stuff,
play,
get into
the
community.
Or games that you want to play someday, or games that are coming out, whatever.
Yeah. Everyone else, meanwhile, is like, we will ask more of you as the devs, as a baseline, in order to achieve a level of like stable success on our platform, right? So if Xbox says, hey, we want to support playing on everything, so we want your game to support touch, controller, keyboard, mouse. That is not a free situation, but nobody says like, okay, yeah, we want you to be able to play on everything. So if you do these things, then you will make more money for we will give you more of the cut, right? Or something like that. That's not,
or a minimum guarantee, anything.
Yeah, that just never happens. And so it's like, I think the sense that a lot of indies have is just this. It's just kind of this annoyance of like, we've been doing this since 2010 or 2012. It's like, quit putting all of it on us, okay? Yes. Just like fucking, you're taking 30% of everything that we've ever made. That's just true.
Which is always was, still is insane.
Do something.
Yeah, and
frankly,
if you're like, hey, do more now, it's like, why don't you do more for
like
us?
It's so fucking crazy how everybody's looking at Steam, and they're like, man, they just keep making more money every year. How do they do it? It's like, because they're continuously trying to do a better job of meeting the needs of developers and players.
Yeah.
And adapting to their reality, which is that month after month, year after year, more games are coming out. And you can't have the store sit there the way that it is in that kind of an environment, right?
You got to keep changing it.
You got to keep changing it, and you got to keep finding ways to surface this that people want, to separate the stuff people are interested in versus aren't. And like Steam is a very cutthroat platform because of all the backers they have.
We'll talk about Next Fest, but there's 3,500 games in Next Fest right now.
Yeah, and so if you don't know what Steam systems are, they're really hard to leverage. And Steam doesn't just like do it for you either, because it can't. There's too many games, right? But it
no longer can. It used to back in like the early 2010s,
But it can't anymore. But all the other platforms have the same problem, which is like mobile has way more games than Steam does, way more. But the degree to which they've tried to solve this problem is so much smaller, right? Despite the problem being so much bigger.
I don't know if they have tried to solve it.
I mean, they have in various ways. It's the stuff where it's like, the App Store is like, hey, now we have Apple Arcade. Hey, now we have the Games app.
Right, but again, it's that same thing of going, well, we're not going to improve the store. We're just going to do something else.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. They've tried to solve it, but they're not solving it.
We're going to solve the discovery problem by just leaving it a problem over here and then solving it over there.
Yeah, I think that's my hot take with the Xbox change up. And I think it's something we talked about earlier before the show is like, we've been in a position where if we're going to do something like get on Xbox, we would want to have a deal in hand before we do, because the like daily sell-through rate of most consoles now, or I guess for us on Xbox and Switch, has not been it's not high enough to make it worth the overhead.
We don't believe we can make money in direct sales on any platform, period, without some kind of store support which includes
at minimum, like from a marketing standpoint, featuring,
which includes mechanisms that we actually have like levers into that can help us. So it doesn't like the stores have to do all of it necessarily if there are ways for us to impact the outcome. And Steam is the one that has both of those things, right? Yep. To an extent for both. And everybody else, we're like, well, we need some kind of a deal. We need some kind of a guarantee that like you're going to show the game to people along. We need something in hand because without it, our assumption is that we won't come anywhere close.
Yes.
Yeah, we won't come anywhere close to making up for the cost to be on the platform in the first place.
And importantly, even if we did, and this is the note, which is like, yes, it's cool as an indie dev to be like, oh, I've always played games on like Nintendo. I've always played games on Xbox. Like I want to put my game on there. That's cool. The reality though is that like putting your game onto a console from a technical standpoint, the cost of doing so and the cost of maintaining it is just much higher than like just putting it on Steam or just launching it on mobile, because of certification and then because of the additional things, the dev kits. Like there's a lot more expense involved, and the
technical complexities of those platforms are just higher
because they just keep adding shit. They just keep adding features that you now have to hook into with your game. Or else
but they also want a higher degree of standardization stuff. It's one of those. It's like to the other stores' credit, because we are mad about how much money they take and how little it seems to give us a return. But those are much better experiences, all of them, than consoles. Consoles are just deeply unpleasant.
It's just because they're more expensive to deal with. They're just way more expensive, and so I think it's an important note, which is like, yeah, it's cool to get on those things, but the problem is because they ask more of you, and then now because they're increasingly everybody's trying to ask more of devs. Then
because every console has their new goal of we're going to have 3 different stores and subscription services. And,
yeah, well, even the consoles, like everybody, Google did piece. Like everyone's kind of well, even Steam. It seems like we got this Steam box, and it's like, okay, so we can opt to figure out how to support that, if we want to. Everybody is trying to do more things, and in order for you to participate, you just have to do more. But they're not going to like give you more, if that makes sense. And so the problem is
because their expectation each time is that when they present, because we've had this happen to us too. I'm not going to name names, but we've had somebody present to us like, hey, we're doing this cool new thing, right? We would love you to participate. And we look at it and we're like, okay, well, that's going to cost us a lot of development time to be able to participate in this cool new thing. So how can you guarantee that's going to be worth it? And they literally look at us confused because their assumption is just,
we'll be psyched because it's cool.
Well, not that. Well, not that, but that this thing will generate money for people.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you see, it's growing the market, and I'm like, no, I can't see that because it hasn't grown the market.
Because nobody needs it.
So if it's guaranteed to grow the market, you got $1 billion in your fucking pocket.
Yeah, throw a minimum guarantee that way.
Give me like $100,000.
If it's guaranteed, then put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and we've had there's degrees of that where we've had someone refuse to send us a $100 dev kit for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which again, if you think that our game is not going to make more than $100 on your platform, that's the only reason why you wouldn't send the kit.
And specifically on a store that was not successful. Because if that was like Xbox being like, yeah, we're not going to just give you a dev kit, I'd be like, I get it. Sure. Right.
You've demonstrably, people do sometimes make money on your store, right?
Okay, sure, fine. But but the store in question here was one that demonstrably was failing spectacularly. And they were like, hey.
And even better was they came to us saying, hey, will you put your game on our platform? Also, we won't send you a dev kit. I'm like, I feel like you're just trying to sell a console. I feel like that's just what's happening.
It's weird.
You're just doing one-on-one door-to-door sales.
The only way you make money. So yeah, it's an easy trap. I think it's an ego trap a bit on the dev side. But it's just an important note, which is like we support the consoles we support, like, or whenever we do a console deal, like something like that, we're always really trying to think long term with it, given the maintenance cost, given again, like the additional layers of infrastructure that are required to do that successfully and not have it jank up like the rest of our experience trying to deploy builds rapidly on Steam and mobile, right? And it's something we always have to contend with every time, even though it's like, yeah, I would love for every single one of our games to be on everything. 100%. But I would also really love if more platforms, I don't know, like made it a little fucking easier.
If they did a better job of selling the games, if they...
Why are you just like leaving me in this gray zone all the time? It's like, well, it might be worth it. It might not, but the guarantees are that we're going to take 30% of your money no matter what, and it's going to cost you a lot of money and long-term maintenance to figure out. Those are the guarantees.
Yeah.
Upside, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, the vibe is just like every platform is just always asking more and more of developers and every year and offering less and less in return.
Just like
anyways, let's talk about Next Fest.
Yeah, let's go
before we run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Next Fest started this Monday, Monday afternoon 23rd, on the 23rd. Yeah. And we've had the How Many Dudes demo launched on December 16th. And so the demo had been out for a couple of months. And then in the end of January, we put in an update to add localization support and did a bunch of balance updates. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of been sitting on the demo, and we were like, okay, it's ready for Next Fest. And we just moved on to development of the full game.
Yep.
And just kind of letting the demo sit. So coming into Next Fest, we didn't do any kind of a massive influencer push or anything like that because we already did that. We already had that.
I would say more so we did, in the sense that we did send notes out to, influencers and stuff. It's just that,
but they've already seen it.
Yeah, nothing is. Yeah, we didn't try to do anything new to line up. Yeah, we're not trying to line up an update.
I think we got really lucky with the launch of the demo, in that it already took off in kind of like the influencer space. It already generated 150,000 wish lists, or like a lot. Mm-hmm. Like we already had a lot of attention that came from that, and it kind of like made the rounds over the month and a half.
So we weren't expecting Next Fest to be anything massive, because it's like
we've gotten shot.
We've gotten quite a bit of exposure. So we're kind of
we were hoping like there would be a huge part of Steam, because Steam's fucking enormous, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of wish lists, but not nearly as many as you can get. We've heard really big numbers before, so we're still hopeful that there would be significant room to like see something take off. But we also didn't think that would happen necessarily.
There's games with demos in Next Fest that have 1-2 million wish lists. I mean, like just absolutely dwarfing anything that we've done so far. So Sam, I don't know if you wanted to. Sam's been kind of monitoring our Next Fest numbers.
If you
want to kind of talk a little bit about.
Yep. So there's a combination of things here. So
if we compare like where we were last you checked and like the first, like on day one, to kind of get a sense of.
Yeah, I got some ranks, ranking movement for us, and also just like overall big picture. So pre Next Fest, and also importantly, we did the Convergence Festival on the 19th. That was that live stream thing, that like paid for sponsorship thing we did on the 19th. And so I'm going to talk about like pre-Convergence stuff when nothing was happening, right? Where it's just during Convergence stuff where like some things were happening, and then essentially Next Fest and beyond, because I think it gives you a good idea of what kind of like bonus we've seen from these various sources, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And also our baseline was, because the question is always like, because there are two questions. One is like, what's the relative impact, right? And the other one that matters actually a lot more is what's the absolute impact, right?
Yes. Yeah. So in terms of where we were pre the Convergence showcase on the 19th, we kind of settled in for about a week or so, like 800 daily wish lists, which again, phenomenal. Is a fucking lot. That's a lot more than we've seen for any of our games previously. And for Crashlands 2, that was the one that Crashlands 2 was settled around like 100 a day, typically, when like nothing was happening. So been very happy with where that kind of like parked. And part of the plan then was to use the timing of that Convergence showcase a couple days before Next Fest to kind of get like another little shot in the arm, because we knew we didn't have anything happening beforehand. Yeah. So that coming into Next Fest,
I hope that kind of positions us to be higher in charts during Next
Fest. Like a little more momentum on stuff. So pre-Convergence, around 800 daily wishes. Convergence happens and it jumps to around 1,200 per day, and that kind of stays steady up to Next Fest. And then Next Fest is actually the first day of Next Fest, our overall wishes were down.
Mm-hmm. But also
1,000.
It was a Monday, so there's always a day of week effect. So what we saw is that Next Fest starting did not overpower the Monday effect of always having
correct.
So it's just as if nothing happened. Basically.
Yeah. Well, which is interesting, because that implies like so little additional visibility. That
right? And the way Next Fest does work is that the first 2 days are very random. Yeah. Right.
So it's consistent with what
makes sense.
Right.
Because if there's 3,800 games, your game's going to be seen, not very much. And so some of it is dependent on genre and
you
stuff.
You mean 3,000, but yeah.
And because it's also depending on how people are finding it. Because like a quick overview of like what people see on Steam Next Fest page, right? Is like Steam, huge page, like landing page, Steam Next Fest, whatever. Yep. And so they're pushing Next Fest itself very heavily. You go into it, and then they have basically
a bunch of different widgets.
A lot of ways to like look. So they have like their top widgets. It's like so that's a random selection of games the first few days, right? Yeah. In their like widget space.
And that's where they're trying to learn what games would actually do well, right?
And there's like a discovery queue, and then they've got their various sorts and sort of filters for like, I want to sort by most popular or like the top demo or whatever, and I can also specify it to a specific genre.
Yeah, and I think one of the differences this year was that basically that like the main charts feature, which was like the top ranking charts, it's kind of just like a tab. I think previously, I'm pretty sure after like the second day, it like fully took over the like other section, which I don't think it still hasn't done. So it seems like there's a bit more like sort of loosey goosiness and showing some traffic and stuff like that.
Is Next Fest 2 weeks or 1 week?
It's just 1 week.
Just 1 week. Okay,
just 1 week. So yeah. So the thing is, Next Fest day of is actually down from the day prior, but again, still actually up 200 wish lists from like where our baseline was, right, pre-fest. So like 800 to 1,000 difference. And so we're like, oh, I guess we don't really know what this means. We're just gonna wait and see. Second and third days better, so like 1,800 wish lists second day, 1,700 third day. So again, that's Next Fest. Then if you think about convergence maybe fading off after a day or two, because it's probably what happened, then the difference is like 800 to 1,800. Or 800 to 7, just like around 1,000.
So, as in, like, it's probably adding about 1,000 wish lists a day.
Yeah. And then yesterday was best day was 2,500, kind of out of fucking nowhere.
So yesterday, as in the Thursday after
the third day, basically.
The third day.
I think 72 hours after. And a big part of that is like the store switches from very fucking random mode to more pointed, like games that are more successful, getting more traffic and stuff, right? On that third day. It's still unclear like exactly what's going to happen though, because like as of today, I looked this morning and I was like, looks like we're on track probably for like another 1,600 today. So I don't know what's going on. It's like it's very.
I've been pretty unimpressed with the outcome.
It hasn't been crazy, I guess is the way I put it.
That seems kind of consistent with a lot of other games that we've been checking out. It's like Next Fest this time around hasn't provided much of an uplift. There are a few games that basically launched their demos into Next Fest.
Yes.
And in some cases, those were like Bungie launched one.
The marathon.
That has like 50-something thousand concurrent players. So there's a few games that are kind of just really popping off, which always kind of happens.
Well, but I think and
for the most part, it's not really doing too much for most games, it seems.
Yeah, I think what's weird about it is like I went and looked at there's a couple of games that are like doing really like what's that, Berglund Gnomes.
I guess we should also say where we are on the list to get a sense of like what it.
Sure. So yeah, ranking. We are the 24th top demo in the fest. We are down 11 slots since the start of the fest. So coming into the fest, we were like,
because again, there's a bunch of these that suddenly popped up because like coming into the fest, we were ranked on against a bunch of demos that had also already been out for a while, and then there was this big new surge of new demos that got launched into the fest, and they're getting lots of plays and stuff, so it kind of pushed a bunch of us down.
Yeah. So, but we're still we're top 25 basically for this. So what we're talking about is like and what we've always seen is this stuff is always a power curve, right? And as you move up any chart on a games platform, the difference between the 25th slot and like the first slot could be 1,000x, right? Like it can move really fast. But we're not that far down this list, right? It's top 25 out of 3,500.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising, in terms of like being top 25.
Right. So we're in theory the 25th best performing demo, and this is what our numbers look like.
Right, exactly. Which means 25th best performing demo. Maybe you're getting an extra 1,300 wish lists a day. At least in our case. And again, the demo's still been performing great. Overall median play time is 2 hours, over 2 hours at this point. So there's not been nothing bad happening, as far as like our demo goes. It's all been working really real well. But I think in general, it's basically like we've gotten around a 60% boost in the number of demo downloads versus like the couple days pre Next Fest, which was already a little bit boosted because of convergence. That's also like not a crazy amount though.
Now, and our concurrency, if you look at like SteamDB concurrency charts, our concurrency doesn't look really any different.
Because we're also seeing this interesting trend in China in particular, where we're getting a huge uptick in the number of downloads of the demo in China, but they're not playing it or wishlisting it. They're only downloading.
They are playing
I think they are playing it.
As we looked at the numbers more.
Yeah, they're playing it. So basically when we look at the numbers, it's like if you look at, I've used the US as relative baseline. It's like we're getting 1.5 times the downloads and 1.5 times the plays on the China side. But their wish listing rate relative to the US is actually like a third or something. So it'd be like
the net effect is like they're wish listing. People who get the demo are wish listing at half the rate.
Right. But that wasn't true before Next Fest. Right?
I don't
We
know.
don't- we
I
didn't
don't know.
know
I haven't kind of
Okay.
got into that yet. And so, but that is one of the questions, which is like, is what exactly is going on there? You know, one of the theories is that it's like people are coming back from February Next Fest starts the day of the return to work for people in China,
After the
or back to school after the
New
2 weeks off for New Year.
Yeah.
So it might just be a bad time for people to play games. They're just like downloading shitloads of stuff.
It would be kind of like if Next Fest was on like January 2nd, you know,
Right.
where it's just like, wait a minute, like we just had a big break. Everybody's scrambling to get their work lives back in order, you know, like, yeah, just a bad time.
Exactly. And so it's like, okay, maybe that's just what that is. We haven't gotten to compare numbers with any other devs to see if that is a broader, basically just a cultural effect. Because people
it could also be that How Many Dudes doesn't resonate as well as a game, so that people get it, they play it because they think it looks fun, and then their conversion rate is just lower.
Yeah, maybe the humor doesn't hit the same way. In
but it also
China.
could be that for whatever reason that Chinese player wish listing behavior just is like half the rate for a demo.
Yeah.
Also, there's too many possibilities for us to know what that.
So, but the general point though is that we're looking typically like, you know, if I was comparing again to that like 800-ish baseline, then it's looking like, I don't know, maybe an extra 800 per day wish lists, up to 1,300, but it looks like it's down today. So again, like as far as where that average is going to end up hitting for us in terms of like extra wish lists generated by Next Fest specifically, it's probably going to end up somewhere between like, maybe like 1,000, I guess, per day, which again, it's good. That's nice.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not
of course, the
nothing.
Next Fest will be like 7,000 to 10,000 extra wish lists.
Yeah, but
But by the
interestingly,
time it's done, it'll probably be on the order of like 15,000, something like that.
it might be.
If things
the
be the
tail
way,
works.
and if we see an uptick on the weekend, then I think.
Yeah. So we'll kind of hold our breath to see, because what's interesting is that the Next Fest we did, 2 years ago for Crashlands 2, the shape of it was very different. The first 2 days, Crashlands 2 got basically like 4,500 wishes per day.
Big
and then it
spike.
started sinking down. And over the course of that whole time, I think ended up getting an extra like 16,000 wish lists.
Yeah, and
Next
also
Fest.
Crashlands 2's demo was not a top performing demo for that next.
That's the note. That's the weird note to me, which is
It was
like
pretty far down the list.
it was pretty far down the
So
list.
we have a top performing demo in this next fest, and it looks like it's going to add something in the order of 10,000 wish list total. If something
Potentially less,
changes,
'cause I don't
maybe
know,
more.
it's the
Could be less.
traffic is, yeah, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
really weird looking.
Yeah. So surprising, and when as far there's a how to market your game, the Chris Dukowski's thing, right? And he has his Discord channel or Discord server where people share numbers and talk about what their stuff is, right? And so as far as we can also tell from like the people who are sharing stuff there, who also have stuff at Next Fest, all this seems to be consistent with what everybody's experiencing, which is like surprisingly low amounts of visible impact.
It's like it's like we're doing better than most, right? In terms of like what appears to be Next Fest's impact on us, because a lot of the other ones that have reported doing like even better than we are, most of that you can see is actually driven by the fact that they launched their demo right before, and or got some influencer coverage. So the question is like, how much is Next Fest able to push stuff?
Is it Next Fest, or is it the fact that it's
influencers played their shit, right?
Yeah.
And so I can say that probably with certainty that the Next Fest won't be able to have as big an effect as like the influencer stuff that happened over the winter break for us.
Definitely. Yeah. Nowhere close.
In terms of concurrency, which is fascinating, but in a variety of ways. I think if you're counting on Next Fest to be like the thing that can give you traffic, like, I don't know, it's not a savior thing. It's just like all these other pieces now where it's like, it's just a piece of the puzzle. It's like a proportional piece of it. And you still,
well, you want to kind of think about what's really going on. Like, what are players doing? What are they looking for? How are they interacting with the store at any given time? And one of the kind of weird things that always happens is once there's a conventional wisdom about when is the right time to do something, then that becomes the wrong time to do something, because everybody's going to do it at the same time, which is what we're seeing with this 3,500 game Next Fest this time around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's been this growing sentiment in the indie dev space, which we also jumped into, which is the idea of like, it's all about the demo. You gotta get it. You gotta have a really good demo, and you gotta use that demo to build an audience. And of course, Steam Next Fest is the demo event. It's the thing
that
for
was the
demos,
original purpose for making the demo. It was like you make a demo so you can do Next Fest.
So you
it
can do
wasn't
Next
make a
Fest,
demo so
yeah.
an influencers could play it. But that's actually what it is.
That's what it is now, yeah. And so now Next Fest is a very rough place to get noticed and get your demo out there because everybody agreed that it was a great place to get your game noticed, right? So that's happening, and then back when we released our demo into the winter sale, the idea with the Steam sales is people are just looking for deals, but
not new games. But
yeah, and because the whole store is kind of overtaken with big discounts on games that people already had on their wish list and games that have been out for a while or whatever, there's this assumption that the consumer, that like the player purchasing behavior is going to be different, and you don't want to launch a game into that because people aren't looking for new stuff at that point, and also it'd be hard to get it noticed on the store. So because the conventional wisdom is that's a bad time to launch, might actually be a good time to launch. So yeah, we put our, it's like the Warren Buffett saying of like, be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy, right? Like if you go opposite of what the mob is doing, you might actually find an opening.
Yeah,
to
I think
to slip it.
That's what's interesting. Is like because a lot of games launch their demos right before Next Fest, like a lot, and that means also that like influencers and press, I've seen some notes from them on Blue Sky and stuff where they're like I've been being inundated with requests to play games that are coming to the Next Fest since like the middle of January. People are getting notes with stuff.
Yeah.
And so you do see some of these games that they like because it's synced up where it's like, oh, we released our demo the Wednesday before, we got some big influencer coverage on like Saturday or something. The Next Fest starts on Monday. We're coming in the hottest. It's like if we launched it and we had the same thing happen in December as happens now. It's like we would be getting proportionally more out of Next Fest, right?
Yep.
But
we'd be probably at basically the top of the charts rather than
exactly. Yeah. But the chances of that happening are lower and lower and lower because everyone's trying to do it at the same time.
You got a 1 in 3,000 chance that people see your email and play.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an important little point, right? Because we said like we came in because we were already launched. We came into Next Fest in like the top 15 for demos, right? And then what we said was, but all these newcomers came in, right? And
there's only a couple of newcomers that jumped in front of us. Important.
Yeah, it's like 10,
actually,
right?
Yeah.
And so most of the ones that launched right before Next Fest, that wasn't an advantage.
Did not push us down.
Yes.
Yeah. And we also don't know for those games that did, like what would have happened had they launched their demo before Next Fest and gotten coverage at a time. We actually don't even know that our outcome that we got for like Next Fest specifically is a worse outcome than it would have been had we had all this stuff happen, right? And I think importantly, given the noise, like you're saying, given the noise of the huge amount of demos coming out and people being inundated with, hey, try this demo, try this demo, right? Had we done that, the space for attention that we would be competing with would be much, much bigger.
Yeah.
And so the overall effect we might have had if we had waited, launched the game for Next Fest, could be that we'd now be 2 weeks from now on the other side of Next Fest looking at it being like, I don't know if this game's going to succeed. That could have been the outcome. Which again, like it speaks to the fickle and predictable
all this stuff's all over the place.
Nature of all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're always just looking for positive signals.
Right? I mean, all this just further drives home the idea that maybe we should be launching into the summer sale. You know what I mean?
It's just so dumb. So dumb. It just might work.
It's so dumb.
I don't know.
We did go back and look, and it's like last year was what? The number of games.
The 2 weeks before and after the summer sale, put my hands in here, we're at 900 plus launches. During the summer sale, it was 500 launches.
Yeah. So during the summer sale, about half as many games are being launched.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay.
There's also fewer of those launch games make a lot of money.
Yep.
But some of them still do. So
someone's going to make money.
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those, it's like, it's not a good signal, but it's not obviously a bad one.
Well, it's also like if it's because most people who are launching games during a sale are being dumb, and their games are
or they're being brilliant, So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is it like one brilliant person?
Maybe the games that made money during the sale, if they hadn't launched during the sale, they wouldn't have made any money.
Or maybe 10 times more.
You can spin that shit however you want.
That's why I just feel insane the longer we spend time in the industry,
What's the right move? I don't know.
Yep.
but you got to pick one, and then you just got to live with it. So, anyways, just to be clear, we haven't confirmed any launch date, so we're just talking shit. So, all right, well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. We'd like to thank our producers Fat Bard and Sampa DeCoster for putting the podcast together, and thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the archives. And of course, if you haven't yet, pop open Steam and check out the How Many Dudes demo. Yeah. You'll enjoy it. We've been furiously adding features to it, so the demo is increasingly departing from what is all going to be there in the full game, but it's still a lot of fun, and you'll still get the core of the idea. So enjoy that. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.